I know a lot about overtime. I'd hated to give overtime. I hated it. I'd get other people, I shouldn't say this, but I'd get other people in, I wouldn't pay. I hated. This is going to lead to a lot more. I think it's going to be economically positive.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was not in the teleprompter, going off about how inconvenient it is to have to pay people for working a whole lot more than normal. And then, of course, he says, I bring other people in. I don't know exactly what that's a reference to. Maybe something legal, maybe not something legal. Scabs, I assume.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
But the overall point is he doesn't like paying people for their work. And just to admit it like that in front of a crowd of people who generally probably really rely on overtime is a weird thing to do. But let's also just point out who is actually surprised by this. There's two sides. There's the employees and then there's the bosses. You are on one of those two sides. If you're on the boss side, you don't want to pay the employees. And you would gladly, if you could, replace them with robots or AI or goblins you find in the woods, whatever, anything that's Oompa Loompas. If you could, I've got wonk on the brain today. That is what you would do because it sucks to have them steal your hard, not earned money from you. And so of course Donald Trump thinks that. Who's actually surprised by that? And if you're in MAGA, how have you sustained for even a microsecond over the last 10 years the idea that he has anything in common with you economically or in any way has your best interests at heart? Come on.
I mean, and that I think is the rub right there. He's always been a fake populist, and his base at the end of the day are actually fairly comfortable. They're middle to upper class. They might be managers themselves. Again, they're boat dads. They're people that got their PPP loans, unlike most of us, because they had their small businesses. And this is him speaking to those folks. He represents the bosses. He represents the overlords. He represents all that entire class. I mean, he loves to decry Marxism, but Marxism is about understanding class stratification. It's about understanding the war that is being waged currently by the 1%, by the upper class against the working class, right? It's against the boss class, against the working class. And you have it so laid bare for you. I mean, this to me is the thing that should be making headlines across news agencies, because here you have it so plain to see. And the other thing about this, John, that I find incredibly ironic is what do bosses do when they hate, I don't know, labor unions, right? Wither Sean O'Brien and the Teamsters, of course, not all Teamsters. But like, what do they do when they hate labor unions? What do they do when they're tired of paying overtime? They rely on more precarious workers. Who are those workers 9 times out of 10? They're immigrants. Yeah. So this guy is not just obviously like a shameless, 1% top hat MFer. He is also someone who has relied on immigrant labor, who does rely on immigrant labor, and who represents an entire class of people who love exploiting immigrant and especially undocumented immigrant labor. Hello, meat packing plants and all of the most dangerous jobs that exist in this country rely on immigrant labor. And so that's the other big irony of this whole thing that he's so see-through about, right? And again, I think it's fine. You should embrace the fact that you rely on immigrant labor, but you should also then embrace workers' rights and not pit those things against one another. But if you are in the working class and you see the way he is openly just mocking you and your earned time and your money that you deserve for working, overtime is really serious. This is over 8 hours of your day. People are working 12 hours. People barely have a time to sleep, let alone eat and spend time with their family. A lot of people working on Saturdays. Like, come on, or Sundays, forget holidays. Holidays don't even exist anymore, right? Like, this is your guy, and then he wants you to hate immigrants? No, absolutely not.
How do you worship a guy who finds you to be such an inconvenience? Like, to what really matters, which is the functioning of a business. Not you, not your family. Like, you're just, oh God, we have to give you a little bit of our money, a tiny little fraction, a nothing amount of our money. I hate it. How do you worship that guy?
Well, the last thing I'm going to say, John, it's really sad because even for the rich people who like Donald Trump, they think that they're going to be billionaires. These guys are like, oh, I'm going to be Elon Musk probably next week. No, you're not. Even if you're making $500,000, even if you're a millionaire, you're so far from being a billionaire. You are so far. You have more to throw down with the working class and the middle class than you do with the 1%. Seriously, you're paying your fair share more so than the people who are richer than you are paying their fair share.
Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.